Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Devin, and today we're going to be talking about the new Netflix movie, Luther: The Fallen Son. So let's get started. I was lucky enough to be invited by Netflix to the US premiere last night at the Paris Theater in New York City. I got to walk the red carpet, which was a pretty amazing experience, and Idris Elba, Andy Serkis, and the rest of the cast came in and talked to the theater before the movie started. Now, I really liked this movie. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars, but I feel like I cannot judge completely properly, and this is because I've only seen a few episodes of Luther. I'm currently on season 1, but after watching this movie, it makes me want to watch the entire show even more. So I'm super excited to continue watching, but this movie does stand alone, meaning you can watch this movie without seeing Luther. And I feel like this movie does a great job of making it a standalone movie where anyone can watch this movie and enjoy it as well. Now, I post quick movie reviews outside of the theater on my Letterboxd, so if you click the link in the description right now, you can go follow me there. Now, I'm going to be going through a quick plot summary of the most important points, not going into a huge amount of detail, but I'll be giving some of my review, and there will be spoilers in it throughout the video, so let's get started on the summary. So the movie starts out with a guy working in his office, and he gets a call by Andy Serkis, who plays the villain. The villain in this movie uses blackmail to get in the heads of his victims, and this man is told to go to a certain location, and then is here where he finds a car with a dead body in the car and a man lying on the road. When he goes to inspect the car, the guy laying on the road, who I believe was wearing a mask, comes up and grabs him and takes him away. John Luther is on the scene and tells the mother of the victim that he will try and find her son and promises. As we all know, Luther is then arrested and put in a high-security jail. While in jail, the mother of the victim gets a call from her son telling her where to find him. And in a very creepy and devastating scene, the mother goes to this house, and when she goes into the house and calls her son, she finds a bunch of people hanging in a room, including her son. There are a bunch of phones all over the floor, and they're ringing, and there's other families of the victims that are coming into the room as well. And then Andy Serkis' character lights the whole room on fire, burning all the bodies, and almost lights up the mom. And he's watching this whole thing from outside of the window. He uses this very creepy face technology to transform his face to the victims' faces as well as this creepy character. His name in the movie is David Roby, by the way, and no one really knows who he is. Later on, while in his jail cell, an envelope comes under the door. Luther turns to the station, and on the station is David Roby and the victim, and David is killing him. After hearing the death on the radio, Luther wants to get out and solve this mystery because no one is doing anything at the police station. Luther is able to convince 2 cops to help him escape from the prison, and he has a buddy of his that he called on the phone that would help him escape if he was able to get transferred. And that is exactly what happens. Luther is able to get out of the prison during this riot and be able to get transferred because all the prison inmates were going to try and kill him because he was an ex-cop. While being transferred, Luther is able to escape the police van when his buddy and a few of his men attack the police van and are able to take Luther away. Luther is then able to track the FM radio station that was sent to his jail cell, and he's able to find where the satellite is coming from. He tracks the FM satellite to a tattoo place, and when he goes inside and confronts the man tells him that he is being blackmailed. The man in the tattoo place mentions that the guy blackmailing him only uses his phone about 1 day at a time before switching to a new number. At the same time, the police were coming after tracking the satellite as well, and Luther has to escape, but he does take the cell phone of the man. Luther calls the police back and tells Martin that he has the villain's number, so they decide to set up an investigation sting with Luther. But the caveat is, once Luther finds the villain, he is going to get arrested with the villain, and Luther agrees to this. The next scene is one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie, and it is the scene at the Piccadilly Circus. The scene starts off showing 4 people who are standing at the top of buildings with a webcam to their face. Luther gets into the center of Piccadilly Circus, and this is when he calls the villain. And something that seemed a little unrealistic here in this scene is my cell phone is never on ringer when I'm in public, and he's just sitting there, like, plotting this whole thing, and his cell phone, the ringer's on, and if I was a villain and was doing all these things, I would just turn my ringer off. So that was something that was a little unrealistic to me, but what happens next was my favorite part. Luther confronts him once his cell phone rings, and he grabs a man and stabs him right in the chest. He holds the man hostage, and it's Luther versus David, and the police start swarming in, but then the people start falling off the buildings. Once the people start falling off the buildings, cars start crashing all over, people are hit by buses, cars are crashing into other cars, and all hell breaks loose. David is able to get away, and Luther follows him into a subway station, and they both get into a fight. Luther gets stabbed in the stomach and is about to take down David, but a young cop comes in and hits him with a baton. Luther is knocked to the ground, and then the young cop gets stabbed right in an artery in his leg, and he bleeds out and eventually dies. Before the cop dies, he tells Luther to run and get him, so Luther tries to go after him, but is not able to find him. But Luther is bleeding, and he actually super glues his cut from the knife. Now, the villain operation in this movie is one of the more unique ones that I've ever seen in a movie like this. The audience has shown that David and his men basically have an office with a bunch of computers for everything they're doing. They hack into people's security systems, smart speakers, webcams, any kind of cameras to learn a lot about them. And this is actually how they blackmail their victims, because they are able to learn things about their lives through the security cams, through different things online that they're doing and hacking into their computers. They are also able to gather insights because they are starting their own website where people can vote on how to kill people. They have a whole bunch of victims that they have kidnapped, and they're going to put them live because these people are just sick and want to kill them live. But a lot of people will join later on in the movie and watch. We also learn more about the villain David Roby and his personal life. He was accused of assault but was never charged, and he was also accused of arson and never charged as well. Right before his wife was about to leave him, she was in a terrible fire that left her face completely messed up. He tells her about all the things that he is doing, and she won't say anything to anyone because she is so scared of him. We also learn that Archie, who is a policeman on the investigation, is being blackmailed as well. Another one of my favorite parts of this movie was the horror aspect, and this was the scene with Odette's daughter. After getting off the phone with her mother, Odette's daughter is walking through the house, and from the smart speaker someone is calling her name. It was extremely creepy, and David was actually in the house and takes her and kidnaps her. Odette, who actually just found out that David Roby was his name, gets a call from him. He threatens and blackmails Odette and tells her if she does not do something about Luther and kills him, that he will do terrible things to her daughter. Odette then calls Luther and tells him that she has his name, and they decide to meet at a restaurant, and Odette takes him into an alley. Right before Odette is going to kill Luther, Luther knows that something is up and knows that she's getting blackmailed as well and calls her out. Odette does not kill him, and they decide to work together. They go and visit David's wife, and she tells them everything. There is a death house in Norway, and underneath this house is where the whole operation is taking place. So Odette and Luther make their way to Norway, but the man in the police station who is getting blackmailed by David is able to tell him what is going on. I think he tracked her passport. Once he knows they are going to Norway, he knows that the only person who knows this is his wife, so he orders Archie the policeman to go and kill his wife. When Archie goes and kills the wife, Martin and a bunch of police officers are there to catch him. Luther had warned them off camera that someone was going to come for the wife, so the police were ready. Archie then for some reason takes his own life. After their car breaks down, they are able to walk to this death house that is completely frozen. And when they walk into a room in the house, they find a bunch of bodies hanging, and one of them is supposedly Odette's daughter, but it is really not her. Odette, who thought it was her daughter, was separated by Luther after she got mad and told him to leave, and Luther investigated the house and found the secret location in the basement. Odette was then attacked and taken by one of David's men. David Roby this entire time was in this facility's basement, and this is where he was going to host the live show. It was a Roby's Red Room subscription service where people could log in and pay and vote on how to kill people. Luther is then attacked as well, and they are all brought into this one room, and in another room with a glass window is the daughter. Whenever Luther and Odette were not cooperating, they put a bag over the daughter's face so she couldn't breathe. Odette is instructed to stab Luther, and she does. The global audience is watching, and it cut to a bunch of people on different feeds in front of their computer in VR, and they were watching this show. When Luther is told to shatter Odette's knee with a hammer, though, he refuses and scares off a lot of the viewers with the threat that they're currently being tracked by the police. Luther is able to free himself and attacks Roby, who is able to escape, but he closes the door. This leaves Odette and her daughter trapped in a room that is getting lit on fire. There is a hosepipe though, but Odette and her daughter must fight one of Roby's men to get it. Luther is able to track down Roby, who is driving a car, and jumps into the car, and they end up veering off into the frozen lake. The car goes down to the bottom of the water, and Luther is able to hold Roby down long enough, and he goes up and tries to escape, and next to all of these dead bodies, drowns. He was unable to find the hole in the ice and drowned next to all these people who he killed. Luther had told all the cops the address of the place in Norway, and they were already on their way, and luckily, right before Luther loses consciousness underwater, he is saved by scuba divers. The police helicopter came down and I assume saw everything that happened, and they are able to save Luther. Now, something that seemed a little unrealistic to me is right before he is saved, he saw David's phone and he unlocked the door downstairs where Odette and her daughter were about to be in flames. And if anyone knows phones well, at least my iPhone, I can't click on the phone when there's like a little bit of water on it or rain, and he clicked it underwater, fully submerged in probably 0-degree water. So that was a little unrealistic to me. When he is saved, Luther is arrested, but later on when he wakes up after recovering, he is not in prison. He is in a safe house, and a bunch of cars pull up, and Martin is in the room with him. A bunch of government-looking cars pull up, and Luther goes outside with Martin, and he walks over, and someone says the chief wants to talk to you, and he goes over, and we're not able to see who the chief is, and the movie ends. Maybe it is the Secret Service, FBI, some higher government agency, who knows. But what we do know is we probably will get more Luther movies. Idris Elba has even said that he loves his character. It is the longest character that he's ever played, and I assume there will be more Luther movies. So let me know what you thought of the movie Luther the Fallen Son in the comments. Did you like it? Have you seen the show? And how did it compare to the show? And if you haven't seen the show, what did you think of the movie by itself? I'm Devin. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next review and explanation video. Have a great night, everyone.